My name is Olivia Harper. I'm 32, and I work in marketing at a tech company in Chicago. The kind of job where deadlines don't care if your personal life is on fire. I've always been the one in my family who picks up the phone, who fixes things before they get ugly, who tells myself that helping isn't the same as being used. That's why, when my brother called me late at night 2 weeks ago, sounding wrecked and desperate, I didn't let myself hesitate. He said his freelance work had collapsed, his condo rent was overdue, and he was staring at eviction like it was already happening. He promised he wasn't asking for a handout. He swore he'd pay me back $500 a month as soon as his next paycheck hit. I remember staring at my banking app with that tight feeling in my chest, the one that shows up when you know something doesn't add up, but you choose peace anyway. $8,000 left my account in under a minute. I told myself it was the right thing to do. I told myself family doesn't keep score. Then, at lunch, I opened Instagram like I always do when I'm trying to turn my brain off for 5 minutes, and I felt my stomach drop. There was my brother, smiling like life had never touched him, flashing a luxury watch on his wrist like it was proof he'd won something. A second clip showed his hand against bright sun and ocean water, Malibu in the background, the caption talking about how time is money and stress deserves rewards. I didn't even get a chance to process the anger before my phone buzzed with his message. Relax. You'll survive. It's not like you're hurting for money. I stared at those words longer than I want to admit. I didn't argue. I didn't call him names. I didn't beg for an explanation. I did something else. I took screenshots of the transfer, his stories, his texts, every timestamp. I made a folder on my phone and named it Marcus Loan. And then I went completely quiet, because if he wanted to act like he'd outplayed me, I was going to let him enjoy that feeling. For a little while, I thought silence would make him disappear, but the next morning, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. When I finally looked down, there were 56 missed calls from him, stacked like a countdown to something I wasn't ready for. If you've ever loaned money to someone who thinks your kindness makes you weak, stay with me. Because what happened after those calls didn't just change my relationship with my brother, it exposed a whole side of him. None of us saw coming. I didn't call him back right away. Not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because I needed one clean breath before I let his chaos into my day again. I was standing in my kitchen, coffee going cold, watching those missed calls like they were proof of something I didn't want to admit. He hadn't called 56 times because he felt guilty. He called that many times because he was used to getting what he wanted when he applied enough pressure. When I finally opened my messages, he'd already switched tactics. First, it was a fake, casual text like nothing happened. Hey, you awake? Then a second one, sharper. Why are you ignoring me? Then a third that made my jaw tighten. Don't do this. I needed that money for real stuff. You don't get it. Real stuff. Like a Rolex in Malibu. I didn't respond. I screenshotted. Then the FaceTime requests started popping up, one after another, like he thought he could force me into a conversation by making my phone unbearable to hold. I declined every single one. Minutes later, my phone lit up again, and this time it wasn't him. It was my mom, and the second I saw her name, I knew exactly what he'd done. He'd dragged her in to do the soft work for him. Mom's first text was gentle, the way it always is when she's trying to keep the peace. Honey, your brother is really stressed. He said you're upset. Please don't make this bigger than it has to be. I could practically hear her voice saying it, like the problem wasn't what he did, but the fact that I might react to it. I typed and erased 3 different replies before I sent anything. Finally, I kept it simple. I'm not making it bigger. I'm just not going to pretend it didn't happen. Within seconds, a new group chat appeared. Family, my brother, my mom, and me. The moment I saw it, I felt that familiar weight in my chest. This wasn't about solving anything. This was about cornering me in a public space where I'd look cruel if I held the line. My brother sent a long message that read like a performance. He talked about mental health and pressure and how hard it is to be a man trying to hustle in Los Angeles. Then he added one sentence that was supposed to shame me into obedience. If you loved me, you wouldn't treat me like a criminal. I stared at it and realized something that hit harder than the anger. He wasn't sorry. He was offended. Offended that I had boundaries. Offended that I noticed. I muted the group chat, not because I was backing down, but because I needed my head clear. Then I started building a timeline like I was working a case. The exact date and time he called. The amount I transferred. The message where he promised to pay $500 a month. The day he posted the watch. The Malibu clip. The exact text. Relax. You'll survive. I saved every voicemail he left because his tone changed each time. The first few were sweet, like he was joking. Then he got irritated. By the 10th voicemail, he sounded angry, like I'd stolen something from him. By the last ones, he was using that sharp, dangerous calm that people use right before they flip. That night, while I was trying to focus on work emails, my mom called again. This time, she didn't even say hello before she sighed and asked, "Can't you just talk to him?" I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. I asked her one question instead. "Mom, has he done this before?" She went quiet for a beat, and in that silence, I heard the truth she didn't want to hand me. She finally admitted it, quietly, like she was confessing a secret. "Last year, he told your father his car needed repairs for work. He needed money fast. Your dad helped him. He said he paid it back." I felt my stomach twist because there it was. A pattern. An emergency. A promise. A guilt trip. Then something shiny online. And family members being told to stay calm so nobody has to face what's actually happening. I sat on the edge of my bed and looked at the folder on my phone again. Marcus Loan. It wasn't just a folder anymore. It was a line in the sand. Because the truth was, this wasn't about $8,000. It was about what happens when someone learns that love can be weaponized. And if I didn't stop it now, I wasn't just losing money. I was teaching him that he could do it again. To me, to my parents, to anyone who still believed his stories. Do when they don't know if they're being due, when they don't know if they're being unreasonable, or if they're finally seeing the truth. I kept it simple. I loaned my brother $8,000 for emergency bills. 2 weeks later, he posted a luxury watch and a Malibu trip. Then he told me to relax because I'd survive. I ended it with one question. Am I wrong for wanting my money back and refusing to engage until he acts like an adult? I didn't add names. I didn't mention my job. I didn't even mention Chicago. I just needed to know if the knot in my stomach was my guilt or my instincts. By lunchtime, my phone buzzed with a message request from my cousin Sophia. I hadn't talked to her in months, but her first line made my blood run cold. "Is this you?" She sent a screenshot of the post and then another message right after. "If it is, I need to tell you something before you let him spin you." I stepped out of the office and stood in the hallway by the vending machine so nobody could hear my voice shake. Sophia didn't waste time. She said my brother had pulled the same script with her last year. Different story, same pressure. He told her he needed $6,000 for a tech startup he was launching with investors lined up. He promised to pay her back as soon as his first contract landed. 2 weeks later, she saw him posting Vegas hotel views and a new watch on his wrist, like he couldn't help himself. When she confronted him, he told her she was jealous and that she didn't understand entrepreneurship. And when she asked for her money back, he went straight to my mom, crying about how Sophia was attacking him. Sophia's words hit me like a slap because they lined up too perfectly with what I was living right now. It wasn't a mistake. It was a method. While she was talking, she added something else. Quieter this time, like she was choosing her words carefully. "Olivia, I work in social media risk analysis. People like him don't just borrow money, they practice on family first because family is easier to control. That sentence sat heavy in my chest the rest of the afternoon. I tried to focus on meetings, on campaign metrics, on anything that wasn't my brother's voice in my head, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling every time my phone lit up. Around 4:30, my receptionist messaged me that someone was in the lobby asking for me by name. I wasn't expecting deliveries. I wasn't expecting friends. I walked down to the front and my stomach dropped the moment I saw him. He was standing near the security desk like he belonged there, wearing sunglasses indoors, carrying himself with that cocky confidence that always made people assume he was more important than he was. My brother, in Chicago, at my workplace. Before I could even process how fast he'd moved, he spotted me and his face snapped into an expression that was half wounded and half furious. "There you are." He walked toward me like we were about to have a heartwarming reunion, but his voice was tight. "We need to talk." Like now. Security shifted their stance, already reading the tension. I kept my smile polite because the last thing I needed was a scene at my job. I told him calmly that we could step outside. He scoffed like I was ridiculous. "Outside?" "Sure. Anything to keep up your perfect little image." He said it loud enough that two people in the lobby turned to look. My cheeks burned, but I didn't give him the reaction he wanted. I walked him out to the sidewalk, the cold Chicago air slapping my face awake. The second the doors shut behind us, his mask dropped. He got in close and hissed that I was humiliating him, that I was acting like he stole from me, that I was turning family into a courtroom drama. I told him evenly that he didn't get to post a Rolex and Malibu after begging me for emergency rent and then talk to me like I owed him patience. His eyes flashed. He said the watch was an investment. He said he needed to look successful because that's how business works. Then he leaned back and delivered the line he thought would crush me. "You make good money. 8 grand is nothing to you. You're just being petty." That's when I realized he truly believed his own excuses. In his mind, my hard work was his safety net. My stability was his entitlement. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I told him one thing: "You're going to pay me back. If you want to talk, it'll be with a plan and in writing." Then I turned and walked back inside before he could pull me into another performance. An hour later, my mom texted that we were having a family Zoom call that night because this had gone far enough. I almost laughed at the irony of it. Of course it was a Zoom call. Of course it was framed like I was the problem for refusing to be quiet. At 8 o'clock, I joined the call with my camera on and my expression steady. My mom looked exhausted. My dad sat beside her, silent, arms crossed, the way he gets when he's watching something he hates unfold. My brother joined last, dramatic as always, sighing like he was carrying the weight of the world. He started with tears. He talked about pressure, about being compared to me, about how nobody understands how hard it is to make it in Los Angeles. He said I always acted like I was better than him. He said I didn't know what it felt like to be drowning. I watched my mom's face soften, because she always softens when someone cries. Then my dad spoke for the first time, and the entire call changed. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult anyone. He just looked straight into the camera and said, "Marcus, enough. You don't get to lie, take money, and then punish people for expecting it back." There was a pause so sharp it felt like the whole call froze. My brother blinked like he couldn't believe Dad wasn't taking his side. My mom started to say something about keeping the family together, but Dad cut in gently, not unkind, just firm. "Keeping the family together doesn't mean rewarding bad behavior." My brother tried to laugh it off, but the sound was strained. Then Dad did something I didn't expect. He said, privately, after the call ended, he'd help me file in small claims court in Illinois if that was what it took. He said he'd testify about what he knew. And when I told Sophia about it afterward, she sent one final message that made the hair on my arms rise. If you file, do it soon. Because I don't think you're the only one he's doing this to anymore. By the next morning, my brother's tone shifted again. The tears were gone. The wounded voice was gone. What replaced it was colder, sharper, like he'd decided if guilt didn't work, fear would. The first message came in before I even finished brushing my teeth. You really want to do this to me? The second one landed right after. You're going to regret it. I didn't respond. I opened my folder, took screenshots, and added them to the timeline. Then he started sending photos. Old ones. Blurry group shots from high school. That awkward era when everyone looks like they're still figuring out how to exist. Then came a screenshot of a college party photo of me holding a red cup, the kind of harmless image every adult has buried somewhere on a forgotten hard drive. His message under it made my stomach tighten. Remember this. I can post it. I can post all of it. I stared at my phone, feeling something turn inside me. Not panic exactly, but disappointment so heavy it almost felt like grief. He wasn't trying to solve anything. He was trying to control me. I typed one sentence and kept it clean. If you have something to say, put it in writing. Any threats will be documented. That was it. No arguing, no defending my reputation, no explaining that a red cup at 20 doesn't equal the story he was about to invent. He didn't need the truth. He needed leverage, and when he didn't get the reaction he wanted, he escalated. He sent another message claiming I had a drinking problem in college, then another saying I'd been written up at work before, and he had proof. It was ridiculous, and that almost made it worse because it showed how desperate he was to create a narrative where he was the victim and I was the villain. My phone buzzed again, and this time it was a new group chat, not the family one. He'd pulled in 2 distant relatives and an old family friend and dropped a long paragraph about how I was abandoning him during his darkest time. He ended it with a line that was designed to make me look heartless. Olivia thinks money matters more than family. I could see it like a headline. I could see how people would react without context. I could see how easily shame spreads when it's wrapped in the word family. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to defend myself, ready to spill everything. Then I stopped. Because that was exactly what he wanted. He wanted me emotional. He wanted me messy. He wanted me to say something he could twist. So instead, I did what my lawyer would later call the smartest thing I did all month. I said nothing in that chat. I screenshotted it, saved it, and left. Then I sent my mom a separate text, calm and direct. I'm filing. I'm not discussing it in group chats. Please don't forward anything he sends. My mom called me within minutes, voice shaky. Olivia, please. He's your brother. Don't ruin his life over money. That sentence hit like a punch because it showed how deep the conditioning ran. He wasn't worried about ruining my life with lies. She was worried about me ruining his life by holding him accountable. I didn't yell, I didn't blame her, I told her the truth as gently as I could. I'm not ruining his life. He made choices. I'm just not covering for them anymore. After that, my brother pivoted to something almost surreal. He posted a long Instagram story with soft music in the background, black and white photos of us as kids, captions about loyalty and forgiveness. Family is everything. Don't let outsiders poison your heart. He tagged me, like he wanted my coworkers and friends to see it. It was the sweetest-looking smear campaign I'd ever seen. Underneath that story, though, the private messages kept coming. He sent a voice note in a low, controlled tone telling me to be careful, because people love drama and rumors travel fast. He said he'd hate for my employer to see a certain side of me. Then he added casually that he could make one phone call and tell everyone I was unstable and vindictive. I listened to it twice, not because I wanted to torture myself, but because I wanted to capture his exact words. The more he threatened me, the clearer it became that my instincts had been right from the beginning. This wasn't a brother who made a bad decision. This was a person who believed consequences were something that happened to other people. That afternoon, I met with my dad for coffee after work. He slid a folder across the table, old school paper, because that's how he does everything. Inside were printed screenshots my mom had forwarded to him over the last year, without realizing she was building a case. Texts from my brother begging for money for a car emergency. A promise to repay. Then silence. My dad looked at me, and I saw something in his face I didn't see often, not anger, but a quiet regret. He said he should have stopped this sooner. He said he kept hoping my brother would grow up if we just gave him time. I told him it wasn't on him. People grow up when they decide to, not when you hand them another bailout. That night, I finalized my small claims filing. I attached the transfer confirmation. I printed the messages where he asked for help. I included the screenshot of his Rolex story and the text where he told me to relax because I'd survive. And I added every threat, every attempt to blackmail, every group chat stunt. When I hit submit, my stomach didn't drop like I expected. It felt like relief. Like I'd finally stopped holding up a collapsing wall with my bare hands. I went to bed thinking the worst part would be the family fallout. I didn't realize my brother was about to stop playing defense and start trying to turn the entire thing into a circus. 2 days after I filed, my brother's mood flipped again like a switch. The threats cooled off, the angry messages disappeared, and suddenly he was back to sounding upbeat, almost cheerful, like we were negotiating a used car instead of the fact that he'd lied to get $8,000 out of me. I woke up to a voice note from him that started with a laugh. Okay, let's be adults. I have a solution. In that bright, chipper tone people use when they're trying to sell you something, he told me we could close the loop, without court. He said he had a huge platform now. He claimed he could promote me and my work online, and that the exposure would be worth way more than the money he owed. Consider it a trade, he said, like he was doing me a favor. Then he dropped the number. 40,000 followers. Real followers. He said he could get me clients, opportunities, brand deals, whatever I wanted, and I could just forgive the loan. I stared at my phone and actually felt my lips curl into a humorless smile. He still didn't get it. He thought the problem was the method, not the fact that he took what wasn't his and treated me like I was stupid for noticing. I didn't reply. I forwarded the voice note to Sophia instead. Sophia responded within minutes. Send me his handle. All of them. Every account. I sent her what I had. His main Instagram, a second page he'd linked once, and the new account I'd noticed commenting under his posts like a hype man. Sophia didn't even need an hour. She sent me screenshots that looked like an autopsy. His follower count was inflated, but the engagement didn't match. Thousands of followers, barely any meaningful comments. And the comments he did have were the same generic phrases repeated over and over, like they were copied from a script. She ran a basic audit and told me the part that made my skin crawl. About 35,000 of those followers were bots or purchased accounts. That meant his entire online image, the watch, the Malibu clips, the confidence, the way he spoke to me like he'd outsmarted the world, was built on a lie he paid for. Sophia kept digging, because that's what she does for work, and what she found made my $8,000 feel like the tip of something much darker. My brother wasn't just pretending to be successful. He was selling success. His link in bio led to a glossy landing page full of buzzwords and fake urgency. Crypto mentorship program. Limited spots. DM to apply. Only for serious entrepreneurs. The price was right there in bold. $2,500 per person. Under it were testimonials that looked like stock photos of people holding phones with fake profit numbers. The quotes sounded like they were written by the same person. Changed my life. Quit my job. Now I make passive income. Sophia sent me a screen recording showing that the testimonials were pulled from random profiles that didn't even match the names on the page. Then she found the next layer. A private investment club he was running through group chats. The promise was ridiculous. The kind of promise that only works on people who desperately want it to be true. 40% returns every month. No risk. Exclusive strategy. He even had a countdown timer on one page that restarted when you refreshed it. Like a cheap sales trick. I sat at my desk at work, reading Sophia's messages, and suddenly I couldn't hear the meeting I was in. All I could hear was my brother telling me to relax because I'd survive. $8,000 wasn't an emergency bill. It was operating cash. It was his buffer. It was the money he needed to keep the illusion alive long enough to pull more people in. I asked Sophia the question that had been building in my throat since the Zoom call. Do you think he's actually scamming people? Sophia didn't hesitate. Olivia, this is a scam structure. It's not even subtle. People who run legitimate programs don't guarantee returns like that. They don't hide everything behind DMs and private chats. And they don't use bots to make themselves look trustworthy. A minute later, she added something else. I found a payment link. He's not even using a legit business processor. It's routed through personal accounts and weird third-party transfers. That was the moment my anger changed shape. Before, I was furious because he disrespected me. Now I was furious because he was dangerous. Because if he could lie to me that easily, he could lie to strangers even easier, and strangers wouldn't have childhood memories to make them doubt their instincts. That evening, my dad called me and asked if I had a minute. His voice sounded tight, like he'd been sitting with something heavy all day. He told me he'd talked to an old coworker of my brother's, someone he'd bumped into by accident, and the guy had said Marcus had been bragging at Thanksgiving about a money club he was building. The guy thought it sounded shady, but everyone laughed it off because Marcus always talks big. Then my dad added the part that made my stomach turn. Your mother said your brother asked her for money again last week. Not for rent, not for food. Just said he needed help bridging a gap. She didn't give it to him, but she didn't tell you either because she didn't want to add fuel. I sat there in silence, realizing my brother was still hunting, still fishing for whoever he could hook, even while he was posting soft family quotes online, and my mom, without meaning to, was still protecting him from consequences by keeping secrets. That night, my brother messaged me again, friendly as ever. So what do you say? We can make this disappear. I looked at his text for a long time before I replied with the shortest, cleanest sentence I could. No deals. Pay what you owe. After I sent it, my phone lit up with a new message from Sophia, and it felt like the ground shifting under my feet. I found other people talking about him, Olivia, not just you. There are complaints. People asking where their money went. People warning others to stay away. And if you think he's only done this on Instagram, you're wrong. That was when I finally understood what I was up against. My brother didn't just think he'd won against me. He thought he'd built a whole system where nobody could touch him. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized this wasn't going to end with a family argument. It was going to end with someone stepping in who didn't care about family at all. The morning after Sophia sent me those warnings, my brother didn't come at me with anger or tears. He came at me like a salesman who believed the right pitch could still flip the outcome. I opened my email and saw a subject line that made me laugh out loud for the first time in days. Partnership agreement. Attached was a PDF with my name typed in like this was a real business deal, not a desperate attempt to rewrite a debt into an opportunity. He'd copied a template from somewhere, changed a few words, and slapped his own logo on top like it meant something. The offer was almost insulting. if I invested an additional $12,000 into his exclusive crypto club, he'd credit that amount against the $8,000 he already owed me, and I'd become a preferred partner entitled to monthly returns. In other words, he wanted me to pay him more money so he could pretend he didn't steal the first pile. Under the signature line, he added a note in all caps telling me to sign within 48 hours before the offer expired. Expired. Like he was doing me a favor. I forwarded the whole thing to Sophia and my dad. Then I did the one thing my brother never expected from me. I hired a real attorney. Her name was Erin Caldwell, and she didn't waste time with the emotional side of it. She asked for facts, dates, and proof. I slid my phone across her desk with the folder open, the transfer confirmation, the screenshots of the Rolex story, the Malibu clip, and that one text that still made my blood boil. Relax. You'll survive. Erin nodded once and said, "Good. This is clean." Then she asked if he'd threatened me in writing. I showed her the messages about exposing me and the group chat stunt. She didn't look shocked. She looked pleased, the way professionals look when a messy situation suddenly becomes easier to document. She drafted a short letter that made my brother's threats look small and pathetic on paper. It demanded repayment, warned him to stop contacting my workplace, and ordered him to stop posting false statements or implying I was unstable or abusive. It wasn't dramatic. It was precise. And Erin told me something that stuck. People like him rely on panic. Once you move everything into documentation, they lose oxygen. That afternoon, I took another step I never thought I'd have to take against my own family. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus, changed every password connected to my finances, and turned on extra verification for my bank accounts. Not because I thought my brother could hack like some movie villain, but because desperation makes people sloppy, and I'd already learned he had no problem crossing lines. When Erin filed the small claims paperwork properly, she also told me to keep every interaction in writing and not to be baited. That advice got tested immediately. The moment my brother received the notice, his online behavior went feral. He posted a story calling himself a survivor of financial abuse and toxic siblings. He didn't name me, but he didn't have to. He used the same childhood photos he'd posted before, soft music, captions about betrayal, and a poll asking followers if they'd ever been stabbed in the back by family. Then the comments started showing up under my LinkedIn posts from accounts with no real photos, saying things like, "Hope you're proud of yourself," and "Money-hungry sister." It would have been scary if it wasn't so obvious. Erin told me not to engage, so I didn't. I documented it. I saved every fake account screenshot. I kept building the case like I was stacking bricks. Meanwhile, Sophia kept digging, not out of curiosity anymore, but because she was genuinely worried about other people. She found a few public complaints and sent me names of individuals who said they'd paid my brother for mentorship and never received anything beyond vague voice notes and pressure to recruit friends. One person sent screenshots of a group chat where my brother bragged about how easy it was to get people to send money if you use the right words. Another showed a payment trail routed through personal accounts and weird transfers that didn't match any legitimate business setup. Erin told me to be careful about how I handled that information, but she also said it mattered. It showed a pattern. It showed intent. And it showed that my $8,000 wasn't a one-time mistake. It was part of a larger machine. My brother, of course, doubled down. He sent me one last message that tried to sound confident and enlightened. "I'm representing myself. The system is rigged against entrepreneurs, but I know my rights." He added a link to a video about how courts are corrupt and how smart people don't need lawyers. I read it once, screenshotted it, and closed my phone. For the first time since this started, I wasn't scared of what he might do next. I was waiting, Because when someone builds their whole life on lies, the collapse doesn't happen all at once. It happens the moment they're forced to show receipts. And my brother had been spending years avoiding that moment. Court day came fast, and I expected nerves. But what I felt walking into that small claims building in Chicago was something colder, like my body had already accepted that my brother and I were not standing on the same side of reality anymore. I had my documents printed, my screenshots organized, my timeline clean enough to hand to someone who'd never met us and still understand exactly what happened. My dad came with me, quiet and solid, the way he always is when he's decided a line has been crossed. My mom didn't come. She texted me a heart emoji and a "please don't hate him forever." And I stared at that message for a long second before I put my phone away, because I wasn't there to hate anyone. I was there to stop being used. The hearing was scheduled for the morning, but Marcus didn't show up on time. At first I thought maybe he'd finally realized he couldn't bluff his way through this, but then my phone buzzed with an Instagram story notification from him, like the universe was telling jokes at my expense. A clip of him at a gym, sweaty and smug, captioned something about cleansing negative energy and staying unbothered. 90 minutes late, he finally walked in wearing confidence like armor, acting like everyone should be grateful he even showed up. He tried to smile at me like this was a misunderstanding we could laugh about later. I didn't smile back. When the judge asked him directly why he borrowed $8,000 for emergency bills and then posted luxury purchases, Marcus did what Marcus always does. He performed. He talked about stress, about image, about how business requires you to look successful. He said the watch was a tool. He said Malibu was networking. He said I was overreacting because I had a good job and I'd survive. The judge didn't care about his vibe. The judge cared about facts. And facts were not on his side. I handed over the transfer confirmation, the messages where he promised to repay, the screenshots of his Rolex story, and the text where he told me to relax like my money was a joke. Marcus tried to interrupt, but the judge cut him off and told him to answer the question, not rewrite the story. I watched his face shift when he realized charm wasn't working. Then he pivoted to anger, and it only made him look worse. He accused me of humiliating him. He called me bitter. He tried to bring up old family stuff like it mattered in a courtroom. The judge looked him dead in the eye and said something that felt like the first real consequence Marcus had ever heard from an adult authority figure. This isn't about feelings. This is about a debt. And your own messages undermine you. The ruling came quickly. Marcus owed me the full amount plus filing costs. My chest didn't fill with joy the way I thought it might. It filled with relief, because for the first time in weeks, someone neutral had looked at the facts and said I wasn't crazy. I was right. I thought that would be the end of it. I truly did. I thought we'd walk out. My brother would sulk. My mom would beg us to make peace. And the story would become one of those family scars you don't touch at holidays. But as we stepped into the hallway, something shifted. Two men and a woman approached with calm, professional energy that didn't belong to small claims drama. They weren't there for me. They didn't even glance at me at first. One of them asked Marcus to confirm his name, and Marcus puffed up like he was about to argue with the universe again. What now? I could see him calculating, trying to decide if this was a new audience he could manipulate. Then the agent showed him paperwork and explained, in a tone that had no emotion in it, that they were serving a federal subpoena related to an ongoing investigation involving online investment solicitations and wire transfers. They needed his phone and certain account access. Marcus laughed like it was a mistake. He looked around like someone would rescue him. No one did. He tried to refuse, tried to talk his way out, tried to act offended, but it didn't matter, because this wasn't family. This wasn't my mom smoothing things over. This was the real world finally catching up. When they took his phone, the color drained from his face so fast it was almost terrifying. For a second, I saw the truth underneath all the swagger. Not a mastermind, just a man who'd been lying so long he forgot the lie could collapse. He started talking too much, saying he was a coach, saying he was helping people, saying everyone was jealous. And the more he talked, the more he sounded exactly like what Sophia warned me about. Someone selling dreams and calling it mentorship. Later, Aaron explained to me that when multiple people report similar schemes and the money moves across state lines, it stops being gossip and starts becoming a serious problem. My $8,000 wasn't the whole story. It was just one thread that led to a bigger one. In the weeks that followed, the consequences came in waves. Marcus's Instagram went dark. His condo lease ended. People he'd charmed stopped answering his calls. My mom cried more than I'd ever seen, not because she was defending him anymore, but because she finally understood that protecting someone from consequences doesn't save them. It just gives them more time to hurt people. I eventually recovered my money through the judgment process, and when that check hit my account, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. I donated it to a nonprofit that educates people about online scams because I wanted something good to come from the worst lesson I'd had to learn about my own family. If there's one thing I hope you take from this, it's this. Love without boundaries isn't love, it's permission. Helping someone once is kindness. Helping them lie, manipulate, and repeat the cycle is enabling. Sometimes the most responsible thing you can do for someone you care about is to stop catching them when they jump. Let reality do its job. And if you've ever been in my position, if you've loaned money to a family member and felt that sick mix of guilt and anger afterward, tell me in the comments. What happened? And what did you learn? Your story might be the warning someone else needs before they hit send on a transfer they'll regret. Thank you for listening. My team at the channel works hard to create engaging, meaningful scripts, and we want to be clear that this is a fictional story made to share valuable lessons and educational takeaways with our viewers. Our goal is to entertain responsibly while delivering helpful messages people can learn from. This script highlights the educational value of setting healthy boundaries, documenting agreements, and recognizing manipulation, especially when money and family mix. It encourages viewers to choose integrity over impulsive reactions and to protect their peace with calm, thoughtful decisions. Most importantly, it shows that real growth comes from accountability and learning from hard experiences.